Hey guys, today I have a very special guest who will be joining us today. So please welcome Rishi Kumar, a congressional candidate for the 18th District of California, which is actually my neighboring district. Rishi previously ran for Congress in 2020 and won 37% of the vote against a 28-year veteran incumbent, Anna Eshoo, and he won the most votes for any challenger in the last 30 years. He plans on running again in 2022 now with the experience and success that he has built from his first campaign. He is currently a member of the Saratoga City Council and was re-elected in 2018 with the highest number of votes in the city's history. Rishi's brand is exciting since he could potentially be the first tech-savvy congressman, and tens of thousands of people are rallying behind his 2022 run. So without further ado, please welcome Rishi Kumar.
It's great to meet you. Thank you so much for including me in your podcast. I hear it's very popular, so it's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. So could you start off by telling us just a little bit about yourself as a politician, like which way you lean, as well as just a little bit more about yourself and your 2022 run?
Sure. So I'm a high tech geek in Silicon Valley, California, and in Silicon Valley, all the geeks are rock stars, or at least that's what we want to believe. But I found a calling that resonated very deeply with me, which was to fix problems around me. And truly speaking, while working for IBM, I would see little things happening around me, and I would be like, "Who's going to fix it?" And I would look around me, and literally there was nobody working on it. And finally, it was like, "Oh, maybe I should be working on it." So I started that, and I have always been like a little bit of an activist in me, where when I see something wrong, I want to speak up. I want to protect the ones who don't have a voice. I want to do something about it, and that became my life's calling now with the run for Congress. I would never ever have imagined that I would be in city council. It was like it's for those other guys. It was never for me, because I could never see myself doing what city council members do, or congressional members do. So it was never ever on my radar. I came into this country to grad school on the East Coast to study mechanical engineering, and the it was the American dream. I was attracted by the culture, the rock and roll, the food, the fashion style, or everything else. I was in love with the American culture, and I was just trying to live that American dream. And it took a slight turn, it looks like, with my activism and my zeal to make change happen, not just right here in my city, but also with Congress. And I call myself a fearless politician. I take on challenges that nobody else wants to do. I'll give you a quick example. We challenge a water company. It's a very, very cash-rich water company, and they could make politically things very difficult for me. And my colleagues on the city council said, "Rishi, we don't have jurisdiction over San Jose Water Company. Why should we take on the fight?" And what do I know? I said, let's take the first step. We rolled out a water app that one of my interns built to make the protest a lot easier. And it's kind of like, when I look back, I'm still flabbergasted. We have rejected, reduced, suspended 9 water rate increases, and out of 30 elected leaders from 6 cities, there's really only one who's made it a push to protect the people. So anyway, that's the spirit I seek to bring to politics.
Yeah, that's really exciting to hear. Now, I'm sure that's when you were talking about the fighting against increased water prices. You were talking about your time as a member of the Saratoga City Council. Is there anything else that you've accomplished during your time on the council that you are proud of?
Well, multiple things, like for example, they wanted to build a 300-room hotel on a on the hillside, high fire risk zone that would disrupt our vegetation, wildlife. There's a very narrow road that goes up to that area, and it was a no-brainer. I said, "Look, I can support this," and I was by myself on one side, and the city council members, the remaining 4, on the other side. And then the it played out in the city council, where I was not allowed to speak. Can you believe that? Like First Amendment, I was constantly being shut down. But these things don't bother me. I think over the last 10 or so years, have developed a little bit of a thick skin where I'm like, look, I'm going to do the right thing. You can throw whatever you can at me. So one of the local CEOs who lives in Saratoga was watching that play out in the city council, and he said, Rishi, you're like that. Do you remember Tiananmen Square? And I was like, yep, 1989. And he says, you remember that guy standing in front of a tank and with the barrel right at his shoulder? I'm like, yep, I remember that photo. It went viral. He said, you are like that guy. And I was like, really? He said, yes, you're willing to stand up for your values, and then people can throw anything they can, but you will hold strong. So this is really the branding that we have seek to bring, that fearless energy, enthusiasm to solving problems, doing the right thing for the people. I call it people-centric values. And this is really what defines my political run.
Yeah, that's really cool. And do you do you remember like any part of your childhood or something that occurred that influenced your political views and future outlook?
Actually, I go back to probably when I was like 3 or 4 years old and not yet in school. And my mom would tell me a lot of stories. And our culture, Indian culture, has a lot of these ancient stories from the lands of kings and queens and people who exhibited some pretty stellar character of doing the right thing, and to cast caution by the wind, but to basically always try to do the absolute right thing, to stand by the word, to basically express the truth and bring strong integrity. And I think that influenced me quite a bit. And with like, for example, I don't like to lie. It's very difficult for me to do that, because these are simple values that if you can carry forward, you will feel protected, because even if they try to shut me down in the Mountain Winery meeting, there were like hundreds of citizens. When they saw that, they were completely angry with that. And or for example, taking on burglaries, where my city council member said, Rishi, you'll increase the price of you'll drop the price of real estate in Saratoga if you take on burglaries. But I'm looking to solve a problem. So you move steadfast forward because you're trying to make the world a better place. And that comes from a strong foundation of who I am as a person, and which is the reason why we got reelected with the most votes in city history. Saratoga has a population of about, I would say, 10% Indian Americans. I really don't have a base, you would say, but I do have a base. The technologists, the go-getters from Silicon Valley, the best of brains who flock here from every part of the world, they value one thing, which is, about hard work and contributing in every which way we can, whether we are in the world of tech or we are in politics. And when they saw the contribution for city council, and even now I hear this from people, I've lived in Saratoga for 50 years. There's really only one guy who came to my door to talk about an issue, and that is Rishi, right?
Yeah.
So that's the phenomenal energy, motivation, ideas that we seek to bring, but more importantly, ethical integrity.
Yeah, so talking about like what you have done as a member of the city council, what is your vision for Silicon Valley and District 18 in general?
There are some big problems going on. So the first and foremost is, let's drop that fighting that goes on between the red party and the blue party and this party and that party. This is only, the United States. We are all in this together. So I want to bring a culture of bipartisanship. I'm there for every American in our country. That includes every person living here in Silicon Valley. There are some big challenges. So let's talk about very quickly, what am I going to do in my first 2 years? We have companies and CEOs leaving Silicon Valley, leaving California. We are losing a congressional district. Our population is shrinking. We call it the tech exodus. We need to fix that. Secondly, the pandemic. Pandemic is a huge problem, and maybe it'll come back again and again. We need to have a better plan compared to what we had. So it's a huge motivation for me to fix that. When you look at the housing transportation challenge we have, nobody has done anything in the last 20 years. They talk about building high density housing, but there's no urban plan. If you do that, we'll be stuck forever at different street intersections in the next few years if we start building out. We need to come up with a better vision plan. And really, there's no politician who's talking about it. So that's part of my agenda, to see how we can build out a high-speed transportation infrastructure for California, which is not the bullet train. Bullet train is pretty dated. We need to come up with cutting edge transportation options for Silicon Valley, but also for every urban community in the United States. When you look at the innovation economy here, uh, our students don't have access to it. So we want to build, I call it innovation centers of excellence, where the best of talent from Silicon Valley Tech, our professors, educators, teachers, and also the youth of Silicon Valley, which is middle school, high school students, are allowed to collaborate and build startups. Because if we do it early, we can create a much bigger economy. With the vision plan we have, the 21 minutes, 21 counties, we will grow the economy like 10 times. Silicon Valley is the 19th largest economy of the world. Can we make it a top 10? That's the aspiration we have.
Yeah, that's definitely very interesting. And so, talking about like career politicians, you're going to be running against Anna Eshoo, who has been in the House since the early 1990s. What is your, I guess, message to voters who, you know, explain to them why they would want an alternative over somebody that's been in the House for 30 years?
Well, I deeply respect Congresswoman Anna Eshoo's 30 years of service. But I asked the voters to evaluate, how that has played out for them. Has she solved the big challenges, or is she out there in Washington playing partisan politics? For example, the recent censorship where she sent out letters to the cable companies trying to shut down, trying to prevent them to carry channels like Fox. First Amendment is extremely important to me. That cannot happen. We have to ensure that every voice is heard loud and clear in America. Then, when you look at her pharma contributions, number one in the United States House, number one, bar none. And then she has looked to pass legislation that increases the price of healthcare. 50% of her money comes from PAC money. Last year, for the 2020 run, she spent almost 2.5 times more than what we spent, with half of her money coming from PACs. When you get the PAC money, your hands are tied because you will respond to the industry. And there are multiple examples. If you search, you will find how she has tried to increase the price of healthcare for American people, because she's acknowledging the support from pharma and paying heed to what they would like to see. Now, recently we talk about vaccination. There are countries of the world that are suffering because of a lack of vaccination, and we are sort of gating the whole process of vaccination distribution with protecting our IP. There are people dying all across the world, and I believe we should look at generic vaccines. We should look at, if we are using a drug that is very effective, we should quickly make the generic version of it, and let the pharma companies figure out, how they want that payback for their intellectual capital. But we should accelerate this process because we need to prevent deaths. We need to bring up economies because we are all in this together. If there's a mutant that is killing people like crazy, like how it's happening in India today, this will impact the rest of the world, because it doesn't take much for a mutant to arrive in any part of the world because of how we are all connected. Congresswoman Anna Eshoo has been quite silent about it, because the pharma companies have actually sent their lawyers, the lobbyists, to protect their IP. And I'm pretty clear on that. There are different sets of values that drive me versus Congresswoman Anna Eshoo. We are different people. We are different types of politicians. I understand the world of tech intimately. I understand AI, ML. I'm a pragmatic politician. We cut to the chase and we get stuff done. Congresswoman Anna Eshoo has been asleep on the wheel, and even worse, playing partisan politics, not really there to address the needs of the American people. And this is the reason why I request anybody who's watching this to consider supporting my run, join my internship program, join my leadership team. We are keenly invested to solve the big challenges. And I would love to invite the listeners to join our campaign, because we are going to change Silicon Valley and we're going to change America.
Yeah, so on the topic of your campaign, why is youth empowerment one of so important to your campaign, and what do you want the youth of this country to know about this election that you're going to be in and the role of politics in their lives?
Yeah, William, it's all about education, because living in a middle class family back in Bombay with abject poverty all around me, I made it to the United States, and our congressional district is the most affluent in all of America, and here I am living in Saratoga, right? It only happened because of education. One thing, one word, education, extremely important, which is the reason why I ran the Lego Robotics Boot Camp. When we started that effort, we had one or two teams that would get formed. Now we have like 25 teams. This summer, once again, we'll be doing the boot camp to ensure that the youth of Silicon Valley, or perhaps the nation, because now we'll do a Zoom session, they will be gaining some new skills. Or we ran the Entrepreneurship Boot Camp, working with Mayor Sam Liccardo of San Jose. We actually launched it in some of the most disadvantaged parts of San Jose. Because for me, it was like these kids do not have role models of aunts and uncles who are there to show them a path into the world of tech. So I want to show them that pathway into how do you take a crazy idea and turn it into a business plan. The art of startup, which is what we have done for thousands of kids. I was very fortunate to be part of the California Department of Education Computer Science Strategic Implementation Panel. And we have rolled out a curriculum for K-12 public schools computer science. Every child starting 2022 will be studying computer science. This is a key aspect of what I seek to do as a high-tech geek, but I want to create that opportunity for students. When I see the empowerment that has happened for me a little bit late, I want to create that opportunity for students in our fellowship program, because I want them to see that activism of doing the right thing, of being fearless, about shedding that shyness and becoming tigers. And that's the program that we run for them, and it's very exciting for me to see the impact that we have produced for so many children. Middle school students came to join my city council campaign in 2018. And after knocking on like 500 doors, I could see the morphing that had happened. They had become tigers. They couldn't look at me in the eye, but having done that, after a few weeks, they would sit down and talk to me eye to eye, explain me areas I was doing wrong. Phenomenal transformation. That's what I seek to happen for every youth of America.
Yeah, that's definitely very important, getting the youth more involved into politics. I want to go on something a little bit different. So you had a record-breaking run in 2020, getting within 45,000 votes of defeating the incumbent. So if you were to win, what do you see as the top three most pressing issues in the United States that you would like to work on if you were elected to the House in 2022?
Yep, we need to create jobs. We need to build a robust economy. That's one. We need to understand everything about the pandemic and prevent future bioterrorism, biowarfare, because that's the threat that we have. And finally, we need to build out transportation infrastructure. We need to invest in infrastructure, not by raising taxes. My approach to the public sector is never about raising taxes. Let's invest in infrastructure and make America a much more stronger nation.
Yeah, so during your campaign, what kind of response have you received from the citizens of District 18? And are there like any specific examples of anything that somebody has said to you that has encouraged you and encouraged you further to run for office?
So for the last 15 years, people in Saratoga would say, what does Rishi eat? Where does he get the time? When does he sleep? Where does he get the energy from, right? This is what people have been saying. And interestingly, we started off with I would say 0 votes back in 2019 March, and then we scaled it to 127,000. And I call it like climbing Mount Everest. You have to hit the first base camp. And I used to wonder why other congressional candidates would take 2 iterations to win, because it's a tremendous learning experience. And moving from a city council 30,000 population to a population of the district 740,000. There is a learning curve, and it took us some time to learn. But what has happened, interestingly, is the branding, because what Saratoga has said for the last 10, 15 years, I hear people from Mountain View saying the same thing, or from Menlo Park. Hey, this guy, this is the endorsement statements that come to us, that this guy is a go-getter. We love his energy, and we like the integrity with which he approaches, or they appreciate the problem solving. I mean, this guy, he's a no-nonsense politician. He's looking to get stuff done. I really like that. I think what has happened is that over the last, I would say 2.5 years, our branding has been established as to who this guy is. I'm not a career politician. I'm not looking to make a living. And there are so many politicians in the country, if you put them out of a job, out of office, they are literally struggling. You know what they do? We all know what they do. They become lobbyists. But no, I'm never going to do that. My heritage is with the world of tech, and that's why there is a fearlessness to how we operate, because we will always go back to tech, but we want to impact the big challenges, and this is what the people have recognized. About 45,000 people did not see that, and so our work is cut out. We did 127,000. We need to convince another 45,000. We are almost there.
Yeah, so you've talked a lot about your experience in the world of high tech and Silicon Valley, and so how do you think that experience would help you be a congressman in the House?
It's all about getting things done, because there's only one thing that is valued. In the world of tech, when we are sitting and having a meeting and we bring up a problem, they will say, oh, okay, yeah, that's a problem. So what's the solution? And if you don't have an answer, why did you bring up the solution, right? So we need to have answers to the big problems. And then in the world of tech, if you bring up a problem, guess what? Guess what? Who's going to work on it? You, because you brought up the problem. So same thing, right? So I have that attitude of getting stuff done. And you look at some of the challenges we took on for Saratoga that none of my colleagues wanted to even touch. That is telling, because these are hard problems. These are hard problems. But then why did you run for office if you don't want to take on these big challenges? So my take is very simple. I will focus 80% of my effort to the top 2 or 3 problems. That's it. It's plain and simple. If you can get those problems solved, you're going to impact the population in a huge way, which is the reason why someone like me, who doesn't look like a politician, gets the win with the most votes in 64 years. That's what it takes.
Yeah, so before we end, is there anything like you want to add, any sort of final message you want to tell those who are watching, just about your campaign and yourself in general?
Well, it's simple. I think we are building a grassroots movement. We don't take any PAC money. We are there for the people. Our run is only about the people, but it can only work if the people get involved. So I invite the listeners, young students in high school and college, join us. And college students get a chance to lead teams. They are managing teams of like 5, 10, 15. Last year, we had over 1,000 interns that from 29 states. And it was a phenomenal summer that we had. So I invite our youth listeners, our college students, high school students to join us. Go to rishikumar.com/fellowship. And then we also invite, folks who have that political leadership or political acumen, folks who have campaigned in the past, or perhaps you have not, but you have an industry experience. So we invite you to join our leadership team. We currently have about 33 directors who are leading different functional tracks, working with the young students and guiding them, coaching them, mentoring them. I invite you to join us. And then finally, follow us on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. You will find some of my policy ideas, statements that we are making are very, very refreshing. Follow us on Facebook, find us, and also provide insights, because I'm keenly interested to hear from you. I seek your guidance to get this going, to win this race, and then finally be out there representing each of you in Washington. And I'll pledge to do one thing, which is do the right thing. We will never accept PAC money, and we'll always stand up strong for the people, especially the ones who don't have a voice.
I want to thank you so much for being here today. And if you want to get involved with his grassroots campaign, there's going to be links to everything, his social medias as well. Make sure you follow them. There's also going to be the link to where you can join his campaign, as well as learn more about him. They're all going to be in the description down below. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you like it down below. Comment down below any questions or comments you have. And subscribe to my channel if you have not. And I will see you guys in the next video.